shared toilet and shower stall, as well as leg ropes. Features of women's service in the Army of North Korea. Greetings. Today, we will talk about the women who are obligatory to serve in the Army of North Korea, DPRK. How snakes and other wildlife get into the barracks showers. Is it true that girls and women are sexually raped by men? Finally, you will learn the answer to the most important question: why Korean women tie their shoes during marching and other important events. Be sure to watch the video to the very end to learn more about women's service in the DPRK. What is the North Korean Army? Let's first analyze what the North Korean Army is nowadays, and then let's talk about women's service in this East Asian country. Well, let's go. At the moment, the DPRK Army is one of the most capable and numerous among all countries in the world. Just imagine, 1.2 million regular military personnel, almost 7 million people in the reserves, and 10 million Koreans fit for military service. Almost all North Koreans are obliged to fulfill their duty to their homeland. There are two categories of people. The first is those who are unfit due to health reasons. The second is Olympic champions who have won a medal, no matter for which place, as well as Asian Games champions. Girls and women, along with the male half of the population, are also obliged to serve in the DPRK. This practice has been in place for almost 10 years. Although initially female representatives of the female sex joined the army voluntarily. Alas, laws change over the years, and not only in North Korea. In addition, in this country, women are considered to be more loyal and responsible. Draft age and length of service for Korean women. Surely many of you have thought about what kind of girls are taken into the army of the North Korean state, and how long they serve there in the end. So, about everything in order. First, the female age of conscription begins at 17 years old. In other words, after graduation from high school, girls are taken into the army of the DPRK. Secondly, the term of service for the female part is from 3 to 7 years, while men serve much longer, 5–10 years. It is also important that girls are taken into all branches of the army. The most promising of the latter are the Navy, aviation, railroad, and missile forces. -1. To get into such industries is almost unrealistic. That's why you have to master the practice of land forces. And one more thing, Korean women are very valued in the specialty of laying asphalt. Such work is very relevant today. Horrible conditions. Finally, the moment has come to talk about the detention of Korean women in army barracks. And although there are different opinions on this matter, it is still worth considering the issue in more detail. In addition, there are cases when girls simply could not stand the horror that went on behind the walls of the Korean barracks. The first thing that Korean women complained about was the complete lack of sanitary and hygienic conditions. For example, they had to sleep on worn and worn-out mattresses, which gave off an unpleasant odor. Often, we even had to take water and wash ourselves with it directly from river reservoirs. The management forgot about the fact that a special corner was needed for the female part of the population, to bring their appearance to normal. Hence, there was one more significant drawback. Sometimes they had to share common toilets and shower stalls with men. This is what Korean women feared the most. Negligent guys and men could easily rape a girl. Interesting fact, young men and boys in the North Korean Army are exempted from ordering and cooking in military units. Therefore, it is solely Korean women who are responsible for this. Apparently, North Korea is not aware of what gender equality is in the army. And yes, sexual violence in barracks is not a myth. Such cases do occur, but they are isolated. Because there are not so many male representatives in female units as it may seem at first glance. And since there are few men, the probability of rape is extremely low. But there are still known cases of rape. Lee Seo-yeon's testimony. As you can see, the testimony of Korean women is not empty words. Suffice it to cite the living example of a female soldier, Lee So-yeon, who served in the DPRK army for almost 10 years. Nevertheless, she had to flee the country out of desperation. Lee So-yeon's memoirs show that she actually had to share a small room with several dozen fellow soldiers. Any signs and means of feminine hygiene were not provided at all. Sanitary conditions were reduced to zero, as one had to sleep on mattresses made of rice husks, which smelled unbearably awful. Finally, the showers were filled with water from the nearest muddy river, because of which during the washing various kinds of animals up to snakes got on your head. Of course, these testimonies are being verified, so it's too early to establish their 100% authenticity. But the fact remains, this is not the only woman who fled because of unbearable conditions in the army units of North Korea. Reaction of the public and authorities to the conditions of detention of Korean women and attempted rape. Of course, the public and the authorities of North Korea are not indifferent to what is happening in women's army units. The people of North Korea are shocked by such details and believe that anti-humanity and inhumanity reign in the army, especially since girls and women are at risk of attention. The authorities also commented on the testimonies of eyewitnesses who had experienced it all before escaping from the army. However, the political elite doubts such testimonies because they believe that for a generous fee, they can say anything. Apparently, the authorities have no confidence in the fugitives at all. As for sexual harassment and rape, the higher authorities replied that the barracks are not common. Some are built for men and others for women. Therefore, the likelihood of such unlawful acts is minimized. Ropes on shoes, innovation or necessity? As promised, we will deal with the last and quite important question. Why do Korean women wrap special ropes around their shoes? It is especially noticeable during a march or other ceremony, which is held in North Korea every year. And here it's quite simple. A march in North Korea is an extremely important and revered event in the country. Responsibility comes first. A loose shoe, in this case, a shoe on a woman's foot, can cost a recruit her whole life. That is why the ropes are used to securely fasten the shoes. But that's not all. To find the right size shoes is a challenge. And when the march should take place any minute now, it is necessary to act quickly and promptly. A pair of shoes tied tightly with ropes does not dangle and slip during the marching process. Now you definitely know the whole secret of rope-bound shoes and shoes in general. This is not a novelty, but rather a necessity. As you know, Eastern countries have a special respect for their traditions and annual ceremonies. And there is nothing to say about the march. It demonstrates all the power and splendor of the numerous army of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Conclusion. Thus, women's service in the Army of North Korea is not so easy. Even very young female conscripts risk facing a number of difficulties, which will certainly be remembered for a long time. But it is after military service that the state guarantees a highly paid position when looking for a job and decent living conditions.